face of my conscience.
August 17th, 2024. If it's 7 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's time for This Week in Waukesha. I'm your host, Downtown Donnie Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios in downtown, right around the corner from Theodore Yeomans Park, where we are proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. And speaking of suffragettes, we had a primary election this week with some very positive results in shutting down those two referendums that I believe would really have a huge infringement on our rights and our democracy, and more on that later. It's also, and how could I forget, I am joined by the mighty Max Martinson, my faithful companion on the board, the jam master of the board. How are you, Max?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. It's a great day outside, so can't be doing too bad.
Sure is. You know, after the rain and the wind that canceled Friday Night Live, it's great to see a beautiful sunny morning here in the Shaw. And anyway, it's speaking of good weather, football season, high school football season opens up next week. Something I think very unique to Wisconsin with this early start. And to talk about it, Waukesha South, I believe he's the offensive coordinator. He's definitely one of the assistant coaches. Jon Stillman, also a class of 87 alum, will be calling in here in the first hour to talk about the Blackshirts' inaugural season in the Parkland Conference. Everyone's looking forward to that, and I know Waukesha North is too. They're joining South in the Parkland Conference, and especially I think for North, there's a great deal of excitement because the way that they are set up, and we do hope to have at some point Coach Vinciano or a member of that staff from North maybe calling in next week after the first game, and hopefully it's a win for both teams as they play some non-conference opponents. I know South will be opening up against Milwaukee Lutheran, third year in a row, and it's also alumni night, so Tenney Avenue will be blocked off. There'll be a tent for alumni to come and enjoy some refreshments, some live music, while they also enjoy their beloved Blackshirts doing battle. In the second hour, and really the primary guest of the show, Waukesha native and Waukesha North alum. Apologies to North Star Nation. I put that he was a South alum, and thanks to Rocker, Mr. Schneiderman, for correcting me on that. Rocker was a South alum. His parents still live down the road, I believe, from the high school there, and so he made that very clear that I goofed up, and my apologies to Rocker and to North Star Nation. But Pat Nettesheim is coming in the second hour. He's an accomplished musician, the co-founder of Guitars for Vets, which offers some wonderful healing services for vets through music therapy, through basically free guitar lessons. It's a really wonderful mission, and he's actually starting a second philanthropy that's more inclusive, offering the same services to all sorts of people, anybody that's dealing with mental health issues and could really benefit from some great music therapy. And we'll have a farmer's market reports, two of them in the second hour. David will be calling in, and he'll be sharing. There's some recipes that are given away every week, new recipes at the farmer's market. So some great ideas with that fresh produce you're buying, as well as some of the proteins that are being offered. And of course, acting locally, thinking globally here in the first hour as kind of a build-up for when Pat Nettesheim comes in the second hour. We're going to talk about the power of music and a documentary I watched last night called Disciple that is worth a watch. And then we'll have the Carol Minute. So we are pretty excited about all of that. So as I mentioned, we had a primary election. As many of you know, primaries don't get a very big turnout. In fact, I think statewide it was 26%, which actually for a primary is pretty high. Here in the city of Waukesha, though, I learned there was a 40% turnout. So kudos to us and kudos to all of you for rocking your vote. And, recognize there's a lot of language about freedom and everything. And in a lot of these countries where there is also freedom, there are much higher percentages of voter turnout. And so we really need to educate, inform, and get people out to rock the vote. I want to draw attention to without beating a dead horse, I know we've talked about a lot in our other civic media shows, but the two referendums, which many believe were deliberately confusing, and they were constitutional amendments that were on the August ballot, were shut down by a vote of 58 to 42. And, really pleased to see that because, again, we want to remind people that those amendments were intended to eliminate checks and balances by tricking voters into giving sole power for spending to the legislature. Currently, the governor and legislature work together to decide how to spend the state budget. So no matter what your party is, that's how our system of checks and balances is designed, so that it's a fair and equitable process. And then imagine with an emergency response, that amendment, which was the second one, could slow or block funding for emergencies that require help right away, like a flood, a bridge collapse. I know I was telling Max here in southeast Wisconsin, probably every 10 or 15 years there's a tornado that I remember the last one took out a lot of houses and a lot of businesses. And imagine having to wait longer than you should because, the way it is federal funds will come in through, I believe it's FEMA, and it goes straight to the governor, and the governor can then distribute those funds accordingly right away. And if this amendment had passed, that would no longer be a thing. It would sit in committees and in legislature, and it would get to the people a lot longer than it should. And so it would create more gridlock for the legislature. So we're really glad that Wisconsin came out and voted no to that because, again, no matter what your party, no matter what your politics, having a system of checks and balances in our government is so important to keeping power in the hands of all of us voters and people. So happy to talk about that. And with the upcoming election and also with another review of the primary, my guest next week is Kristen Hansen, who will be in the second hour from Blue Sky Waukesha, and she'll talk more about other elections, primary elections, and a review of that, as well as information on the upcoming elections and how you can best prepare to vote. And in this age of disinformation nationally and polarization, I'm also pleased to have on my show on Saturday the 31st, Labor Day weekend, Deanna Troust of Truth in Common, Washington, D.C. based, will be calling in. Her mission is she puts on a series. She's an established communications expert who provides these workshops to different organizations and community groups, people. She's working on a concept for libraries that we may be pitching to Waukesha's library, or Waukesha counties anyway. And it's basically teaching people how to effectively address or confront disinformation and how should we say distinguish truth from basically outward lies or confusing literature. And the idea being that helping us become better informed in choosing our candidates, because that's the most important thing here, especially in this age, this cult of personality where we are enamored by big personalities, but not really focusing here on the issues. So we are looking forward to those next two shows. And don't forget, too, I have a really nice podcast page where all these shows are stored. So if you miss a show, you can go to my podcast page and review them. And it's really, this summer, it's really become quite a collection of living history. I had a phone interview with Bob Habish, who was the attorney representing the widows of the 3 ironworkers that were killed in the what was known as the Miller Stadium project. July 14th was the 25th anniversary of that, and the ironworkers and the building trades had a really nice ceremony at what is now AmFam Field that day to commemorate, to keep those lost ironworkers in our hearts and our memories. And having a very accomplished attorney like Bob Habish calling into the show and reliving those memories was such a huge moment for me. So, and then we also had, Stephanie Olson was a guest who survived a sexual assault in her own store and then worked diligently to bring that offender to a very swift and justice. And she's now become an advocate for other victims of sexual assault. And, very honored to have her in our community. And so there's so many other great interviews, artists. We had Amy Lee Sazama coming out. She's got a new book coming out. I believe she may have had her release party out in Pewaukee. And her book is called Fleetwood Dreams, Climbing a Mountain After a Landslide. And so it's 3 minutes, Max. Is that right? Awesome. Thank you. So, but then a book I'm starting to read now is from Kristen Oakley, who was another guest on my show, and it's called Carpe Diem. I'm showing it here in the StreamYard for any of you watching the video portion of this show. Carpe Diem, Illinois, a Leo Townsend novel by Kristen Oakley, and it's her books have very dystopian themes, and her and I are going to catch up. We did a great show together. I was virtual from Minnesota. Kristen was here in studio, sitting in my seat, and we're going to get together with coffee. She's currently at a conference in Portland, Maine. What a great time to be there as summer winds down. So many exciting things going on. And hey, we're taking your calls here on the Civic Media app. If you haven't downloaded it already, it's download it from your smartphone. And once it's there, choose WAUK. Click on the phone icon, and that gets you through to the show. And we'd love to hear your questions. Love to hear what you're working on, what you're reading, what your plans are for today. Again, we've got very blessed with some beautiful weather after some bad rain yesterday, and so we want to hear from you. And I look forward to sharing with you my thoughts on how we can act locally, think globally, and what we can do to build a better Waukesha. And I tell you, I can't wait for football season. Are you a big football fan, Max?
I am a very big football fan. I've been one ever since I've been 2 years old. My earliest memory I can remember as a kid is the 2007 NFC Championship and my dad jumping up and down as Tynes hit that game-winning kick in overtime.
Oh, yeah, that was a rough one. Yep, and yeah, that was fantastic. So I'm looking forward to NFL, college, but high school opening up next week, which if it's the weather holds out nicely, usually it's like brutally hot, but last couple of years it's been pretty good. Really looking forward to that. Very unique, I think, to Wisconsin. High school football starting in the second week of August, second or third week. But so much more to talk about here on This Week in Waukesha. And remember, Coach Jon Stillman will be calling in to talk about the upcoming season and so much more. Don't go away. Help who you can. I know that you can. Talk about it. Talk about it. Oh, give it up. Share it out. Help who you can. Don't just talk about it. Talk about it.
Rise every rose is covered with dew, and while the world.
You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK. I'm your host, Don Brown, 540 a.m. And Waukesha's favorite son, Les Paul, with wife Mary Ford, and the world is waiting for the sunrise. And we don't have to wait here in Waukesha. It's a beautiful sunny day already at 7:20 a.m. Another farmer's market Saturday. And Les Paul, for any of you that saw my Facebook post, there was a photo of Les Paul at age 14 in 1929. And yes, in addition to his innovations with the guitar, he invented the rack, that type of harmonica holder, as well. And Lester William Polsfuss, born June 9th, 1915, a fellow Gemini like myself. He died 15 years ago this past Monday, August 12th, 2009. And, of course, we know him better as Les Paul, an American jazz, country, blues guitarist, songwriter, luthier, and an inventor. Do you know what a luthier is, Max?
I have absolutely no idea.
I didn't either until I Googled it, and it is a craftsman who fixes guitars and other string instruments. So
Makes sense.
love that. So I have to call my good friend Charlie Madigan down in Evanston, Illinois, a retired journalist for the Chicago Tribune for many years, who in his retirement enjoys restoring old guitars and restringing them. And so I'm going to ask him if he knew that he was also a luthier. I bet you he did. He was a man of great words. He's also written many great books. So yeah, we remember Les Paul on the anniversary of his passing. Long life, too. June 1915 to 2009. And now for acting locally, thinking globally, one of my family members referred me to a new documentary out on HBO. It's called Disciple. And if you like rock and roll music like I do, it centers on one of my rock heroes, Little Steven Van Zandt, or Miami Steve, who many of you may know better as the actor who played Silvio on The Sopranos. That's right, the lead guitarist for Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band. That, by the way, was his actorial debut, and he nailed it. He may have done some smaller things with Martin Scorsese, but I urge everybody to watch that documentary because Little Steven was a leading force in that New Jersey soul rock movement, working with artists like Dion and the Belmonts, Gary U.S. Bonds, some of the other great artists that came out of the area, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, and of course his best friend Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And Little Steven, in addition to being a great musician, also produced many of those albums from those different artists. He wrote many of the songs. He wrote a song for Gary U.S. Bonds that was a hit later on in Bonds' career. He then, in his world travels, had learned about the injustices of apartheid in South Africa. And during the 80s, he organized artists against apartheid. They produced a song called Ain't Gonna Play Sun City. And that led to raising lots of funds and putting some political pressure and this was historic. Congress was looking to pass sanctions against South Africa during the 80s. President Ronald Reagan had vetoed it, but the Congress had overrode a veto, which is not an easy thing to do, overriding a presidential veto. You need I forget if it's 2/3 or 3/4. I'm embarrassed by my ignorance of the Constitution there. But they overrode it by like a 91% vote. Or so. It was just amazing. And that, basically shut down a lot of banks in South Africa and really forced the South African government to release Nelson Mandela from prison. And so this musician, this artist from New Jersey, was a driving force in that. And his music was a big part of making that happen. And this is a great lead into my guest in the second hour, Pat Nettesheim, on the value of music and what it can do. And Pat has he's taken his craft about, I think it was about maybe 15 years ago now, or 18 years ago, he started Guitars for Vets, which offered free guitar lessons to veterans who are dealing with PTSD and some other mental health issues relating to their service for our country. And he's starting another philanthropy that's that Guitars for Vets mission, but it's more inclusive. It's going to open it up to civilians and any citizens that are dealing with those types of mental health issues, anxiety, PTSD, depression, you name it, and offering free guitar lessons. And he's also, I believe he's involved in a concert next week in a park in Wauwatosa. He's going to talk about that. And he's going to talk about his roots in Waukesha and some of his experiences with a lot of those, with some of the great bands that actually made albums here back when downtown, in the unfortunate days of downtown Waukesha, when a lot of space was cheap and you could do makeshift studios and make some really great music. So really looking forward to having Pat on. And again, the idea, like any of you young people and any of you parents, if they have a passion for music or the arts, encourage it, because you never know what they can do with it. It's not just an art form. It's something that, you can earn a pretty good living, but more importantly, you can make a huge impact on the world around you, and you can leverage that in business, in politics, in community service, in so many ways that we can make an impact here. And again, we have no better example of that than Les Paul and all that he accomplished. And I think it's a bigger deal that he's in the Inventors Hall of Fame than it is that he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm still very bitter that they haven't inducted Warren Zevon yet. So how are we doing on time there, Max?
We got about 3 minutes left, but I was just doing some research here on Little Steven. With all the stuff that he did for that, I'm kind of surprised that he was never at Live Aid. I don't know if he was ever big enough for it, but it seems like that would have been something that Live Aid would have been all over, especially with his work.
You know what it was?
In the early 80s.
That was like the first leg of the Born in the USA tour. Now, Steven had already left the band, and he was with Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, which was a great band, but it didn't achieve necessarily the broad success.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's one reason why he wasn't invited. The other was in the second leg, Bruce Springsteen never played more than 15, 20,000 people concerts, right? But Born in the USA got so big that he had to expand to larger, like football stadium size, 60, 80,000 seat venues. And he needed an extra guitarist. He had Nils Lofgren, another great artist in his own right, filling in for Little Steven, but they had Little Steve and they had the two guitarists playing together so they could really amp up the sound on those bigger tours. So they were, I think, contractually conflicted maybe that they couldn't like stop what they were doing and do because they had this huge tour going on. But I know they were very supportive. You know, Bruce Springsteen was involved in the USA for Africa, the We Are the World, making that video. So that was it.
He wasn't in Live Aid though either, which was pretty controversial at the time given his popularity.
Yeah, and it wasn't because he was against it or anything else like that. I think they just knew because he was one of the few artists that was stood out against President Reagan, who was very popular. And that was the other thing too with Little Steven's political involvements. It didn't make him very popular either. And I think that may have been another reason why he was very marginalized. And so, but they were very much in support. I'm sure they threw some dollars at that and were supportive in other ways. I wouldn't have been surprised if either of those were involved in the Farm Aid. That also was a byproduct of Live Aid. So, but in terms of his political activities, Little Steve, he still remains an activist. And he's done some great things. He did another series for Netflix called Lilyhammer, which he was doing a concert in Norway, and these people approached him. We got an idea, and that's how Lilyhammer took place, which was hilarious. But anyway, I know we're running out of time here in this moment, but Jon Stillman will be calling in soon to talk about the Blackshirts football season here on This Week in Waukesha, WAUK 540 AM.
Dear one, the world is waiting for the sunrise. Every little rosebud is covered with dew, and my heart is calling for you. The thrush on high, his sleepy mate is calling, and my
it was the same old song with the melancholy sound.
They don't ride 'em like that anymore.
They just don't ride like that anymore.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WAUK 540 AM. I'm your host, Don Brown, and you're listening to Greg Kihn and his opus hit, The Breakup Song, back in the 80s. And Greg Kihn had passed away, sadly, on Thursday, August 15th, at the age of 75 after a painful battle with Alzheimer's. And so really sad to see him go. But fond memories. And when Greg Kihn was in his prime, our caller, Waukesha South, I think assistant head coach Jon Stillman was scoring touchdowns for the Blackshirts when he was in high school there. Coach, how you doing this morning?
Doing well, Don. Good to hear from you.
Good. And I know you're more of a Queensryche fan, but did you also like what was I going to say? Did you also like Greg Kihn? Do you remember Greg Kihn?
Oh, when that song was playing, it brought me back.
Yeah.
I don't know much of his library, but that song for sure.
Yeah, there was that, and I think Our Love Is in Jeopardy. That might have been it. But and Weird Al Yankovic did his own version of I Lost in Jeopardy. Yeah,
more than that one.
Yeah. So, but hey, thanks so much for calling in, Coach. I know you're going to be driving to Purdue University today to take your daughter to school, so that'll be an exciting trip.
Yeah.
But hey, tell me about
in about a half an hour. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, I appreciate that. So, hey, tell me about how did the Blackshirts look this year?
Well, we're going to be young. We are going to be. I would say the majority of our team are sophomores and maybe some juniors sprinkled in, and then seniors might be the lowest populated class that we have. So we're going to be earning while we learning.
Sure.
That's okay.
Sure. That's terrific. And your starting quarterback will be a sophomore. Is that correct?
That is correct. Jordan Garcia. He's for the first 2 weeks of our camp, he's really stepped up as a guy. He doesn't look like a sophomore. He might.
That's great.
We don't know how he's going to play yet.
Sure.
We're very confident what he's going to do, but as far as leadership, boy, he's really buying into that role.
I love to hear that. Music to my ears. And I think, for sure we know they're going to be much more competitive being in the Parkland Conference versus the Hateful Eight. I mean, the Classic Eight, where for you're basically playing mostly against D1 caliber talent, and on lines that I see there were I broadcast Carroll football last year, and I think Classic 8 lines were maybe had quite a few pounds on a lot of the good D3 lines, perhaps even your alma mater, North Central, and so it's going to be good for South and North to be playing in the Parkland and having a better bite of the apple, a more equitable bite, and so
but that's really all we've been asking for. That's to line up and play teams that look like us, that have similar issues or similar predicaments as us, and when you line up against, and we're not complaining about it. We did what we had to do, but
sure.
It was a little daunting when you line up for the national anthem, and our team spreads from like the 35 to the 35, and the other teams cover the whole sideline. It was, and there really wasn't much we could do about it.
Right. Yeah, and I think too, as some of the players have described, for the linemen, it was especially debilitating because you're going up against guys that had a good 75, maybe 100 pounds on you.
Yeah, when that happens, it isn't a matter of skill. It isn't a matter of coaching. It isn't a matter of anything other than, physical dominance. And for the most part, in those teams that have the one school per city, they're able to
per region
pretty good
for some of them.
And we're trying to get back and at least compete.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. And the home opener's alumni night, and so Tenney Avenue will be closed. There'll be a tent and some refreshments for Blackshirt alumni. And so if you weren't coaching, John, you would be there with many old friends, maybe throwing a few shots down or maybe listen to some music.
I try to get out there for pregame and say hi to some people, and then it's business, and then it's time to go to work, and then afterwards, hopefully catch up with them and see what they're doing after all these years.
That's great. And it is really neat to see, for someone here that's a transplant that's lived here for under 15 years, to meet so many people that came back here to live after graduating from South, and you could say the same for North as well. That there's such a strong connection here, and but going back to the team. In addition to the diaper dandy Jordan Garcia at quarterback, any other players we should be looking out for that you think will be impact players for the Blackshirts?
Well, we're blessed that we have some pretty darn good athletes, and some of the people that I'll mention are multi-sport, which we totally encourage. But we're going to have to get the ball to Zayas DeWalt.
The general.
He's going to be the general. He's going to be a guy that we're going to put in different spots because we believe that we need to put the ball in our playmakers' hands, and he's definitely one of them. He'll play running back. He'll play receiver. Might even see him at Wildcat, just to get him on the field and get him in different looks. Sure.
So the reason we call him the general is because he reminded me so much of Sherman Douglas of Syracuse in basketball when Zayas plays basketball. So that's why I call him the general. So you gotta spread that name in the football field.
Did he get the reference?
I don't think he's so young, but I think if someone calls you the general, I think you take it as a compliment. Because he's a very soft spoken guy as far as I know. So it's not like he's a bully or anything like that. But his style though reminded me of Sherman Douglas. So
that's a good comp. I see you and I get that reference,
right?
Might get lost on our.
I know. So you'll have to give him a walkthrough.
Soft-spoken leader.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Yeah. So you'll have to educate him on Sherman Douglas.
I will do that. No, but he's definitely gonna be one of the guys. Keegan DeGeorge will play a role in our stuff as a receiver. Nice. But all these guys that we have, we don't have a lot. Our motto is, this is all we got, but this is all we need. And
sure.
We're gonna roll with the guys, and like I said, we're gonna be young, and we're gonna learn along the way, and I think we're gonna surprise some people, especially with the fact that we're playing teams that look a lot like us.
Yeah. So, and it just be, again, you could have the same outcomes, but at least it'll be a better brand of football. It'll be a competitive opportunity for our young men and a growth opportunity.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah, and
go ahead.
it's hard to explain that to people who haven't really lived this and only see the results from the outside the last few years, and they don't realize that these kids are working as hard as they possibly can and not getting the results. And as we said in the new conference, it's, not for nothing, they're going to have at least a chance before the first the kickoff of, hey, we're in this, and that's not what we had before.
Sure. And what I've been emphasizing is that, the last 2 weeks, I know you never miss a show, John, that, we had some of your former players, Tyler Williams and Hector Carranza, and the following week goes Evan Stout and Logan Dable, and all those guys are going on to play some college football. And then there's Chris Flowers, who's going to be playing D1 for Minnesota. And I'm probably missing a few other names. So it's like, for this team that was at the bottom of the Classic 8 to have like so many players continuing their football careers in college, that says a lot about the Blackshirt program. And I'm sure, your rivals at North, they've got quite a few kids going on to play on Saturdays, as they say. And, I'm
glad you mentioned that, because, even from a couple years ago, we had 2 Division I guys, and
right, yeah,
a quarterback who started at
Tack and CJ
Division I as a freshman, and people don't realize that we do have talent, but we just didn't have enough of it. Our depth wouldn't allow us to compete in the second half. We just got worn down.
Sure.
And I think we're going to have some guys playing on Saturday from this group.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and that's got to be exciting. And I think what you'll see happen, and it happened last year, is when you guys start to win, there's going to be some more kids showing up. And I don't know how
we've already seen that influx. Yeah. We've already seen that just because, we're not in the Classic 8 anymore. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
Now we get to play.
But I think you're absolutely right that we hopefully see that, even more going forward.
And the youth program can – sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, and I was actually going to say the youth program.
Our ears are ringing.
Is going to benefit, and it's also going to, hopefully get that alumni back and being proud of, being part of Blackshirt Nation.
Yeah, that's terrific. And I was going to say, as the youth program continues to grow, is that correct?
Yeah, the numbers are great. They're out there every day, and they're doing the things that we're asking them to do, and those youth coaches are putting in their time. They're not getting, they're getting paid in T-shirts, and so they're
well said.
They're part of it. They're a big part of it.
Yeah, I talk a lot with Justin Ben Dixon. He lives in Banting Park near us, and he's been telling me about a lot of the success of the different youth teams, especially last year. Had some really good, not just winning seasons, but like undefeated or one-loss seasons at different levels, and that's got to be something to look forward to. And as you at the varsity level, something to look forward to in terms of developing them further.
Absolutely. There's a couple of kids on that 8th grade team. I was, walking around at a couple of their practices, and I thought a couple of them were lost and should have been on our field, but they were only 8th graders, so they have some pretty good size.
That's great. And you continue to get a lot of support from the parents too, if I remember from my time being involved in the program.
Oh yeah. They get it.
Yeah.
We've had nothing but positivity from the parents, and they realize what we're trying to do, and they realize, the obstacles that we have faced and continue to face. And we only have their son's best interest in mind.
That's great. Now, any additions to the coaching staff? I heard there were some changes from last year, some upgrades even.
Our defensive side is pretty much brand new. We have, I'm just going off the top of my head, I think we have 5 new coaches out of the 10.
Interesting.
And 4 of them are on defense.
Okay.
The only holdover from defense is Ben Bodart.
Okay, yeah, love Ben.
And I don't get a chance to see what they're doing all the time.
Sure.
Just because we're doing our own thing on offense. But I ask them a little nosy. I ask some of the kids, hey, how's it going over there on defense? And every single kid that I've asked because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really good. This is what we needed or whatever. But it's been positive.
Oh, that's 100%. Great. Terrific. And will you have a fair amount playing both ways?
I think we're going to have to.
Right.
Haven't really looked at the lineups, but
sure.
I'm assuming that we're going to.
Terrific.
But even that, we're going to have to get people breaks and give them off the field every once in a while.
Sounds great. Well, Jon Stillman, and what's your official role? Are you the assistant head coach, offensive coordinator, both, or just Coach Stillman?
Well, I was offensive coordinator, and then I stepped back a little bit because of the baseball gig, and
right.
So I'm with the quarterbacks, and
nice.
Yeah.
And do you share
not totally official? But.
You share duties with Grayson Cooley on the quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Good.
Grayson will help us out as much as he can. His job situation has led him elsewhere, but
got it.
He'll still be part of it.
Sounds good. Well, Coach, I know you got a long ride to West Lafayette, Indiana. Best of luck. Best to your family and to Jennifer, and good luck with the Blackshirts season opening up next Friday night, Alumni Night. Alumni come early, come often, and root on the Blackshirts. Coach Stillman, thanks again, and have a safe trip.
Don, thank you so much.
Always a hoot. We'll talk to you soon, John.
All right, sounds good.
Terrific. See ya. So that, again, was Jon Stillman, who's also the varsity baseball coach at South and a distinguished alumnus in their Hall of Fame. Anyway, so much more here on This Week in Waukesha as we prepare for Hour 2. Pat Nettesheim will be our guest, and also some big deals I want to talk about here on This Week in Waukesha, 540 AM, WAK.
Hypnotized by the satellites into believing what is good and what is right. You may be worshipping the temples of mammon or lost in the prisons of religion, but can you still walk back to happiness when you've nowhere left to run? The beaten generation, the beaten generation, reared on a diet of prejudice and misinformation. The beaten generation, the beaten generation. Open your eyes, open your imagination.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha, and that was The with the Beaten Generation. Another one of my favorite bands from the 80s, another classic. For any of you real guitar or music aficionados, the guitarist on that album who joined the band, it was a one-person band, I think his name was like Matt Johnson or something like that, but Johnny Mars from the Smiths, that excellent guitarist, contributed in the making of that album, and I think it was called Mind Bomb or something. I'll have to remember what that is, but great song, and it's obviously very pervasive in terms of what's going on today, and we are not the beaten generation, as evidenced by the referendum on Tuesday that was shot down, both referendums, and some of the success we're seeing in elections in other countries where some of these very extreme movements are being defeated in presidential elections and whatnot, and we're seeing a lot of trends that is turning here. And again, I don't belong to a party, but I would have to support the blue ticket, if you will, and because I'm in favor. I'm not into kings. I'm Irish. I very aware of a 700-year history of oppression under the rule of a king, and it simply doesn't work, especially for people in cities like ours, where there's a lot of self-starters, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, there's a lot of creatives, a lot of people with great imaginations, and you don't want to put limits on our ability to think, to be part of a democratic, small d, a democratic or small r Republican system where the people have a voice and have a part in the government. And my challenge to everybody else, too, is ask yourself if you've ever called the local legislator, your local legislator, for any issues. As an alderman, I thrived on those. I even calls with complaints or people that were upset because it gave me an opportunity to connect, and it gave me an opportunity to build a more connected community. And so, but ask yourself, you ever written a letter to your congressman? You ever called your congressional office? You ever call and that's a great measure of your legislators' effectiveness or your executives is their ability to respond to constituent calls. The good ones are doing that, even at the highest levels. They're listening, and they're showing up from Madison or D.C. in their districts, and they're talking to their constituents. They're going to town hall meetings, going to different groups, and that's a big part of what makes this American experiment work. So, and we see it working here at the local levels where City of Waukesha wanted to send out a big thank you to city staff and the poll workers who helped at the election on Tuesday. There is one more election, of course, on Tuesday, November 5th, and the city needs more poll workers. So it is a paid position, too, keep in mind. So be sure to go to City Hall or call the clerk's office and see how you can get involved and be a part of this, again, this American experiment, this democratic process. And City Waukesha, I know from my own experience, very high integrity in the way that the elections are operated and the way that they're officiated and the way that the votes are counted. I know that from personal experience as someone who lost my first election by 12 votes, absentee votes, against a guy who was no longer running but his name had to stay in the ballot. I won the in-person election by 5, and there were election judges that knew me and liked me, but they had to do the right thing. And, again, who would have missed 13 ballots, whatever? I mean, who would have known? But that's not how our system of government works. So Thankful for that. Neighborhood beer gardens, put those on your calendar. First one is August 22nd. That's this Thursday from 5 to 9 at Rivers Crossing Park. It starts next week, and there's 3 different dates, but check that first one. And it's also, it's Thursday through Saturday next week. So August 22nd, 5 to 9, August 23rd, 5 to 9, Saturday, August 24th, 3 to 9 p.m. 3 to 9 p.m. So stop by to meet with neighbors, make new friends, and enjoy some music. So I think that is terrific that they're doing that. And the last song when we came out was the breakup song by the recently departed Greg Kinn. He passed away last Thursday. Very sad to hear. I was telling Max that the only time I saw Greg Kinn live was when he opened up for Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, who, when I was talking about acting locally and thinking globally, watch that documentary called Disciple. It's on HBO. If you love rock music like I do, if you love politics and government and community like check that out. And it really shows the power of music in affecting so many lives and also in affording other career opportunities for any of you young people that are interested. Little Steven not only became a musician, he became an activist, he became an actor. And he was doing a concert in Norway, and these 2 people, a husband and wife writing team, approached him about a concept for a series they were pitching to Netflix called Lilyhammer. And Little Steven was the right role for it. As you know, he was Silvio on The Sopranos, and he's had so many great experiences. He's also put on, he took the music of one band. It wasn't Gary U.S. Bonds. Oh, the Rascals, another New Jersey band. And they made a play into that, a Broadway play that was very successful. And so don't forget what the power of music and the arts can do in terms of creating opportunities, especially here in the birthplace of Les Paul. And I'm chomping at the bit because I know Pat Nettesheim will be coming on in the second hour here. He might even be waiting outside the studio. And if you haven't already, download the Civic Media app so you can take This Week in Waukesha with you anywhere you go. And we're taking your calls on the Civic Media app. Just push that little phone icon on the WAUK page of the app, and we'll take your calls here on This Week in Waukesha on this beautiful Saturday morning. It's another Farmers Market Saturday here on WAUK 540 AM. And also check out our big deals.
They send in the special police to deliver us from liberty and keep us from peace. The words sit ill upon their tongues when they tell us justice is being done, that freedom lives in the barrels of a warm gun. The beaten generation, the beaten generation, reared on a diet of prejudice and misinformation. The beaten generation, the beaten generation.
August 17th, 2024. If it's 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, it's still time for This Week in Waukesha, Hour 2. I am your host, Downtown Donnie Brown, coming to you live and local from the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown here in the WAUK studios in downtown, right around the corner from Theodore Yaumans Park, where we're proud to honor our suffragette heritage here in the Shaw. And my guest in Hour 2 is here, Pat Nettesheim. But before we begin with Pat, our very own Rich Lacasio from WRJN and Racine is at the farmers market. Rich, how you doing, man?
Good, Don. How are you? Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you, my good friend. What's going on over there?
Well, I tell you what, there's a good crowd assembling over here at the farmers market in downtown Waukesha. There's plenty of vendors here, and I think the weather at least is going to cooperate with us for the next 4 hours. So I'm really excited to see what this morning brings, and obviously we got our WAUK pavilion here. So make sure you stop by. We have some great gift certificates for WAUK Big Deals. You can win some gift certificates. All you have to do is register. And also, yeah, we got Bruce City Wrestling is going to be at the
That's right.
Yeah, Bruce City Wrestling is going to be here in Waukesha tonight, Summer Sizzler. So
right.
At the Elks Lodge. So we're going to have a great time there as well. So it's always good to be back up here in Waukesha, Don. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Hey, thanks so much for calling in, Rich. And for those of you familiar with Rich's voice, he is the MC for many of those wrestling events. Rich, before you go, can you give us a little intro, one of your signature intros?
Oh, goodness.
No pressure.
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, if you can't, that's fine. You can pretend like you're introducing Frankie.
Introducing from Waukesha, Wisconsin, he is Downtown Don Brown.
That was beautiful, Rich. All right. So yeah, when Rich calls back, thanks so much. We'll check back with you in about half an hour, and you're going to tell us about some recipes. Ask David that they offer at the farmers market every week. So, Rich Lacasio, thanks again for calling in.
Also today, hey, Don, also one more thing. Today is the 25th anniversary of the Waukesha Farmers Market, so we're here for a great occasion today.
Thanks for sharing that. It's in one of the biggest farmers markets in the state, so I appreciate that, Rich. All right, We'll talk to you in about half an hour.
Sounds good.
Thanks again. So, terrific. And, so if you go to the WAUK radio website, there's on the top navigation, it says Big Deals. Click on that, and you can get some great deals on gift certificates at local restaurants. And then also the wheel that they're spinning where you can win prizes at the booth there. There's some coupons from Sweet Dreams that just opened. They came on my show as surprise guests, thanks to Janie on the Block, and they gave me and Mayor Sean Riley some milkshakes. And my wife and I went in there to get ice cream for the family last Saturday, and they were so excited to see me. They said that they actually they played the recording of the show later that night as they were closing, and it really meant a lot to them. And thanks so much for Henry for telling us about that. Best of luck with your new venture there. For any of you that ever traveled to Arrowhead for sporting events, that's where their first location is, and you've probably stopped there to get burgers or ice cream and so many other good treats. So check them out there, right there, just down the road from the 5 Points, near Dave's near Dave's Kitchen, Dave's Restaurant. So anyway, our guest here, in-person guest here in the second hour, has been very patient. This is Pat Nettesheim, and Pat may not need any introduction from many of you. In fact, I saw Danny Faustman last night. He was really excited to learn that you were on the show. But Patrick's a music teacher, composer, and performer. In college, he excelled in psychology and philosophy. He considered a career in medicine, but chose the path of the artist instead. Music credits include many films and numerous bands in which he played guitar, bass, and piano, with styles covering rock, jazz, country, ambient, and techno. In 2007, Patrick co-founded Guitars for Vets, with his student and friend, Vietnam era veteran Dan Van Buskirk. Since then, Guitars for Vet has grown to more than 100 chapters throughout the USA. He's credited with developing the G4V four-way path known as PAGE: patience, acceptance, gratitude, empathy, and the G4V community, as they call for short, applies these principles in all aspects of operation. And so Patrick's here. He's got a band too called Karma Shotgun, and he's also talking about a new philanthropy, which is very much like the Guitar for Vets mission, but it's going to be more inclusive for anybody, not just veterans that are dealing with PTSD and other mental health issues. Whew, that was a long one. Pat, how are you this morning? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Don, and how cool it is to sit in WAUK, which I used to listen to as a kid, the first iteration of it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. What was that like, that first iteration?
I didn't listen to it that much.
Okay.
I was listening to WOKY.
Okay.
You know, all the hits.
Oh, okay. All the great music. Yeah.
It was really neat, you know, and it always give me updates about the flea market at the 59 Outdoor Theater.
Nice. I love a good flea market.
Hey, I got to ask you, Don.
Yeah, please.
Who designed the Shaw?
Wasn't that great? The WAUK logo there. Yeah,
great.
and you can see it. I guess you can't see it in the StreamYard here unless I manipulate my camera. But it was one of our artists with Civic Media at our parent company headquarters in Madison. Did a great job with that. And I forget which one it is. I'm embarrassed to say, but it might have been Rebecca Sullivan, who's actually no longer with Civic Media. But she had to leave because of like health issues. But just really creative. I believe it might have been Rebecca, but if it's not, I apologize. There's a great team of artists there in Madison doing great stuff.
You do have T-shirts for sale, right?
We could give you one here, Pat. Yeah, I don't know if we have a price tag on them. In fact, you might have to come over to the farmers market with me. They may have some over there. Or
Excellent.
If I can't, I think everything's locked here on Saturdays. They don't trust me. No, I'm just kidding. They let me use the bathroom, and that's about it. No, but we'll make sure you get a T-shirt because you represent Waukesha wherever you go for sure, and you're constantly on stage, and you're a real presence. So yeah, no, that's a no-brainer. We'll get you a T-shirt.
Right on, and I love.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks. I love the moniker Downtown Don Brown. How about we can take the UPS thing since they don't use that anymore? What can Brown
do for you? Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
there's your campaign slogan.
Exactly. So, but speaking of, that during the 90s, many people remember there was an MTV video VJ, they called them, named Downtown Judy Brown.
Yes.
Very attractive woman, English accent, and I was working in the restaurant business down in Evanston, Illinois, and they used to call me Downtown Donnie Brown, and all our restaurants are downtown, so it was really cool. You had 4 conceptually unique restaurants all in downtown Evanston, which really made it cool. They're not there anymore, tragically, but that was really a great time of life, and so I was happy to reinvigorate it when we started this show. And I started doing it when I started broadcasting high school football for Waukesha South in the last couple of years, and that was fun. Unfortunately, we're not broadcasting any football this fall, but we are. We definitely going to do basketball in the winter, and looking forward to. We want to return to football next year. Just some programming and planning things we're working through as in this growing company, Civic Media. So,
wonderful. Looking forward to it.
And I got connected to you through Rocker.
That's right.
Another Waukesha native. And he corrected me yesterday. I put in my promo that you were a Waukesha South alumnus, and Rocker had corrected me and said, no, didn't he go to North? And so apologies.
That's all right. The North and the South divided by the Fox River, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's true. So what first got you interested in music?
Wow. I can remember at about 5 or 6 years old playing my father's acoustic guitar that he had. My brother got an album. It was called The Early Beatles.
Nice. I can remember that. Yeah.
And by that time, the band had already been broken up.
Sure.
But I know it's cliche, but the first Beatles song I heard was Love Me Do, and fell in love with that sound. It's amazing how many people that band inspired to play.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about it?
I don't know if you're listening to the show on the way up, but last night I watched a documentary called Disciple about Little Steven, who's one of my rock heroes, Little Steven Van Zandt.
Yeah.
And he was also of all the great bands from New Jersey that influenced all those great soul bands and bands he ended up playing with. He was, of course, as a kid, he was largely influenced by the Beatles. And a brother that he was kind of estranged with had also been a Beatles fan. And I think there was a difference in years, and they bonded over that. But he's done some things with Paul McCartney. He actually, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul are back on tour, and he asked somebody to measure the Cavern Club in Liverpool to see because he's got a large band, a big horn section, and wanted to know if they would fit in the Cavern Club. And sure, he's there, and Sir Paul met him, and they did, on this documentary, you can see them singing, I Saw Her Standing There together. It's very good. And Paul McCartney's interviewed in this, too, along with Eddie Vedder and so many other great artists about Little Steven's influence. And
that's wonderful.
Paul speaks very highly of him. Yeah. So,
and my mom I remember listening to her records, the Everly Brothers.
Yeah.
And Simon and Garfunkel. You know, what it really was for me was the melody.
Yes.
You know, and that's what really...
For me, words were important to me, too, as a writer. So,
well, especially when you're talking about Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I think might have been 20 years ago, Rolling Stone rated the song Sound of Silence as one of the worst songs ever written. It's like, what?
I think Rolling Stone, yeah.
I mean, I generally like the magazine. I think they do things like that.
Supposedly there's an editor there that's the driving force to keeping Warren Zevon out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's just unconscionable to me.
Well, I do know the publisher, so I'll find out about this Warren Zevon stuff. I'll put you guys together.
I mean, it makes no sense. He's been nominated, and he's even gotten the votes, like the pop. He was like one of the top because I was really vocal last year, and it just it just took all the wind out of my sales figure. All these people voted for him, and he still didn't get selected.
What year did he pass?
It was a few years. It was like maybe 2004. It was quite a bit. You know, David Letterman is a huge fan, and David Letterman would always have Warren Zevon on his shows. Bruce Springsteen, of course, was a huge fan.
Yeah.
And
great songwriter too.
Oh yeah, beautiful songwriter. Yeah. So I think in his younger days, when he had some issues with drugs, I think he may have pissed off somebody at Rolling Stone, and they never forgot it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
you know, then I would say I started getting into what my brother, who's Michael, he graduated from South Campus.
Okay.
In 1979. So he was into the harder stuff and turned me on to, remember the first time I heard Iron Man and that by Black Sabbath, that changed everything.
Oh, wow.
But still, you look back at that, you know, a lot of that early Black Sabbath was just blues. Just really heavy blues.
Just like Led Zeppelin,
Yep, you got it in Cream from that time period, which my guitar instructor turned me on to.
Nice.
And then I discovered Pink Floyd.
Okay. So we're going to continue this conversation with Pat Nettesheim here and This Week in Waukesha. And he's also, he sent us some MP3s we're going to play of some of the music he's recorded throughout his career, including for horror movies, commercials, I think, and for some classical.
Yeah.
So, like Nigel and Spinal Tap. So, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WUK 540 AM. More with Pat Nettesheim. You're listening to This Week in Waukesha on WUK, and that's Bop by Hanson. That's right, I played it unapologetically. I liked it, but I had to play it because it was played by the Aughts cover band Y2K during the last Tribute Tuesday of the summer that was actually held at Frame Park. You know, normally it's at Cutler Park, but because of the construction, the last Tribute Tuesday was at Frame Park, and it was a beautiful night, beautiful venue. I'd like to see more at the amphitheater there at Frame. And I had the Oktoberfest beer, the Marzen from Ray's Grain. That was quite lovely. And it was great to see Director of Public Works Alex Damien there with his family enjoying the music. Alex is a fellow South dad and a South Marching Band dad, and was pleased to hear that Blackshirt band director Mike DeBruin will be appearing in person this time, his second appearance on the show on September 14th. So any band fans, be sure to check that out. Put that on your calendar. And I also saw Alder Alicia Halbenslaben, council president, and Mayor Sean Riley took a moment to say hello. And Here in residence now in the office of former Alderman Don Paul Brown is James Santel, getting ready for his show, Atticus, a law review. I know it's Amicus, but I call it Atticus because Jim truly embodies the spirit of Atticus Finch. And now, real quick, before we return to Pat, the Carroll Minute. Students, remember to check out the Orange Thread this semester for professional clothing, household essentials, food, and personal care products. All items in the boutique are free to Carroll students. Want to support the Orange Thread? View the official wish list. And also go to carroll.edu/give. And then there's still time, August 22nd. Next Thursday is the last day for free short-term counseling services offered by Carroll University. No insurance or demonstrated financial need is required, and the program is intended to offer essential mental health services to the community. Licensed psychologists and student clinicians supervised by licensed professionals in the field will deliver CCC services. All aspects of the center are sponsored by Carroll School of Education and Human Services and are staffed by faculty and trainees from the Behavioral Health Psychology program. What a great offering, and it is a great honor to have to be a part of this university city and the nation's oldest college for Carroll. Pat, what was your experience with Carroll like growing up here in Waukesha?
I'll just start it with
Yeah.
a chuckle. After I graduated from North, I went to the extension, UW,
Okay.
Waukesha. So there wasn't a lot to do there on the weekends because, it was a commuter school
Sure.
and so forth.
Yeah.
But there was a lot to do at Carroll College.
That's what I was going to ask.
It's a university now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
So
Carroll University, yep.
It's a
So,
step above.
yeah, the old schoolers still call it Carroll College, yep.
Yeah, but me and my buddies had some friends in some of the dorms. I think they were segregated. They weren't what did you call it?
Oh, they weren't co-ed, yeah.
Co-ed,
So,
yeah. So,
That's segregated. Yeah, yeah. So, but to be clear, nice Presbyterian college.
yeah, there you go.
So,
But we would get into the women's dorm, and we had a lot of fun running from security there.
sure.
They had an elevator that didn't work all the time either, and got caught in between
that's
floors a
hilarious.
couple times, and
So-
it was great.
Pat, we have a fellow North graduate. You may even known him from high school. Greg Wansnyder, Triple G, on the phone. Greg, are you there?
I am here. Hey, hello, Pat.
North Stars Unite.
Hey, dude.
Graduation year of 1996. So
So yeah, Greg's a little younger than you. Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, and I'm also a Carroll pioneer, and I also may have snuck into the girls' dorm a time or two when I was a student, and the dorms were co-ed. I can't believe I just admitted that on air.
Hey, that's where I found my wife number one was I met in the woman's dorm. It lasted pretty long.
Yeah, well, that's great. Hey, Don, I just wanted to let you know that Carroll is abuzz with excitement right now. We have football players and student athletes moved in for the fall, and
Nice.
I hear those football players doing. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once here, but I hear the football players doing 2-a-day practices. So Coach Buda's got them working hard, and a lot of new freshman talent there, Don, on the Carroll football team, and actually all our athletic teams, all of our, just different teams that have moved in, and happy to have some of our seniors this year back who have studied abroad. So I was just calling in before I left for church this morning to just say that. So go Pioneers, go Pios.
Sounds great.
So, and go North Stars. Pat, it's our 50th year reunion, and for those
right.
of you Waukesha North
anniversary.
people who are on Facebook, there is a page, Waukesha North 50 years. So, and you can post your memories, and they're always posting questions up on there. Who was your favorite teacher at North? And I have mine, Dewey Sheely, who was a history teacher.
Nice.
And Greg Packowitz, who was also my wrestling coach. So, So that's what I have to say.
Sounds great. Hey, Greg, I really
Morning,
appreciate
John.
the call, and again, I've been remiss. We need to connect for coffee, so we'll try to figure something out for this week.
We really do, and
Sounds
Pat,
great.
maybe sometime we can connect for
Pat would like that
coffee
too.
or a local
Sounds
beverage
good.
as
All
well.
right.
So
Awesome.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks again, Triple G.
Okay.
Thanks,
See
buddy.
ya.
thank
Greg
you.
Snyder. So, Pat, we were talking earlier about your influences early on. You mentioned the Beatles. Any other influences like locally, growing up here in Waukesha?
You know what? I know we won't be playing any of their music, but I saw the Bodines early on in it was a bar called W.T. Lyle's that was right downtown. It was Sammy and Kurt playing together. And it was just me and my buddy Mark. We were in a band called Oblivion. That was my high school band. And that's where it ended up, Oblivion.
Yeah.
You know, totally forgotten.
Sure.
But great band. And it was just me, my buddy Mark, and some old cats in at the end of the bar watching these two guys. And I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. But I told my buddy's like, how sad. They're just not going anywhere. There's nobody here to watch
Little
them.
do you know. Yeah.
You know, well, you know.
Sure.
They ended up doing okay for themselves. Locally, I would just say it, you know, my peer group, the people I went to, especially UW Waukesha with.
Nice.
There was a band called The Casualties at the time.
Good name.
Yeah, featuring Sean Snowpeck.
Sean
You know,
Snowpeck. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
people know his brother Sigmund
Sure.
from his years in the community. But you know, I would say my biggest influences came from listening to metal by Pink Floyd and Volume 4 by Black Sabbath.
Terrific.
A lot of Deep Purple, a lot of Cream, Disraeli Gears, that early stuff. And then in the 80s, really into the new wave movement, really hard. I was the only dude in high school with a spiked mullet and a fuchsia lock.
All right. Hey, the conversation continues with Pat Nettesheim, and we're also going to talk about his exposure to some great music that was being recorded here in downtown Waukesha back in the 80s, and plus some big plans he has coming up for his new mission, and also some gigs he's got going on here on This Week in Waukesha, WUK, 540 AM. And don't forget to download the Civic Media app.
Instead of breaking up, let's do some kissing and making up. Don't throw our love away.
Hey, you're listening to This Week in Waukesha on 540 AM and WAUK. And 60 years ago this week, Baby Love from the Supremes, one of the signature hits from the divas of Motown, the Supremes, with respect to Aretha Franklin, of course, but so many great songs from the Supremes. And so this is the 60th anniversary of Baby Love. And speaking of love, we got Rich Lacasio calling in from the farmer's market. Tell us about those recipes, Rich.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Tell us about those recipes they have in the information booth. You know, David was telling me about them.
Oh, man. There's so much good stuff over here. So this is what I consider like breakfast number 2 for me today, because I've been walking around. I tried some caramelized waffles. I tried some cheese curds. There's a whole bunch of different produce down here. Yeah, I haven't gotten really a chance to look at the recipes just yet, but I'll tell you what, with all the stuff that you can get here, you could probably make something in your kitchen, and it'll taste like it's from farm to table. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for that. Yeah, but as I understand, there's a new, every week is new recipes at that information table. So great opportunities to take what you're buying there and cooking it at home. Some really fun dishes.
Absolutely.
So, well, Rich, anything else we need to know about the farmer's market today?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it's the 25th anniversary of the Waukesha Farmers Market. We got a great deal of vendors down here. If you want to find our tent here for WAUK, look for Hometown Radio Refreshed on our tent. We're right across from the Waukesha Downtown Business Association tent here at the Waukesha Farmers Market, so make sure you stop by. We're giving away some gift certificates for WAUK Big Deals, so make sure you check that out. And we're giving away some T-shirts, and we'll be here until about noon today, so make sure you stop by, say hi, and it's going to be a great time, I can tell you that.
Sounds great. Rich Locascio, always great to see you up from WRJN and Racine. Have a great day, and good luck with the wrestling tonight at the Elks Lodge.
Pleasure, Don. Thank you so much.
You got it. See ya. So, yes, speaking of WRJN, and we got Pat Nettesheim here, if you love oldies, WRJN returned to its roots as a music and news station, so it's strictly music and news, and it's a lot of the great oldies, the stuff that you and I grew up with, Pat. And I really look forward to that. I also think it's on that station at 7:35. They have Paul Harvey recordings that they play. They play like one segment every day, and another legend of radio. Some really great stories that are a big part of the American lore. So download the Civic Media app, and then you can check out all these great stations. We've got, I know we've got country and some. We got rock and others, and also a lot of high school sports broadcasting too. If you've got children, grandchildren playing for other teams, we got it covered. So, speaking of getting it covered, Pat, you're working on something. You have a concert to prepare for next week in Tosa, right?
You are correct, sir.
Tell us about it.
So, I'm going to give you a little background. Back in 2007, I co-founded Guitars for Vets with a Vietnam-era Marine. We give free guitars and lessons to military veterans that have to live with the challenges of PTSD.
Sure.
Back on June 1st, this is very recent, I decided to start a new mission. We call it Music Success, but we spell it music, the number 6, the letter S, and I better get that license plate soon. That's why I designed it that way. But what we do, we not only serve our brothers and sisters that served in the military, but active duty troops and first responders, and that includes firefighters, law enforcement, and medical professionals. And we provide them, we've expanded the mission, not only with guitars, but bass guitars, keyboards, drums, and vocal lessons, all taught in a like a Google Meet, Zoom type scenario online, so we can meet people where they're at, in their homes, while they're traveling, at work, if they got that time to break away. 10 free lessons for the student. The instrument is free, and just email us, info@musicsuccess, MUSIC, the number 6, the letter S.com. And if you're struggling with the challenges of post-traumatic stress, though at this juncture it can't be cured, it can be managed. And, trauma is part of the human experience. The good news is, though, we can do something about it and help people regain their joy. And what a better way than with music than what you're doing, Don.
No doubt.
So what we got going on?
Real quick, can you give us the name of the website again?
It's music, MUSIC, the number 6, the letter S, musicsuccess.com.
Nice.
Okay, it's not a really awesome website at this point because we're only a couple months old.
But info@music6 letter S.com.
Yeah, that'll get to me.
We'll get to you. So that's terrific.
Yeah, and we're always looking for volunteers, resources. Resources don't have to be money. They can be things we need for the office, computers, furniture, whatever that might be, and musical instruments, most importantly. And we are about to open our headquarters in New Berlin, which is in Waukesha County, so I think it's relevant, at Moreland Square, which is at the corner of National Avenue and Moreland Road.
We're the same plaza where Burgarts is now, where Walmart
got it, right down from there.
Great setup there where Burgarts has. Like, they have indoor baseball training, like batting cages.
It's beautiful.
And whatnot. So, yeah.
So we're in that strip mall. We're thinking first weekend in September. So stay tuned for that. Maybe we can be one of your sponsors.
That'll be Labor Day weekend?
You got it.
Fantastic.
And we'll be selling instruments and some other really cool stuff. And we have a little stage in there. We'll be doing singer-songwriter performances, which I know you appreciate.
Yes, absolutely.
Very much.
Yeah.
But what we have to do is we have to start getting fuel for the machine. That fuel, of course, is money. So we're going to start with some events. We're a nonprofit, by the way. I should put that out there.
So eventually it'll be .org, right? The website?
Well, we have .org, but so
Yeah.
that would get you there too. But we figured .com is the way to go.
Good. Yeah.
And on the 24th, this next Saturday, we'll be in Hart Park in Wauwatosa for an event we're putting together called Tosa Palooza.
Nice.
Tosa Palooza.
Sure.
And it features 8 bands and a DJ from 12 noon to about 8:30 at night. So you still got your Saturday night to continue the party. It's free.
Sure.
It's family friendly. And I think I sent you a brochure that has all the deets on that with the band names.
Oh, great. Yes. Thank you for that. And we'll make sure to share that information, especially next Saturday morning of on the show. Real quick, you sent us some MP3s and I wanted to play should we hear the one from the horror movie or from the classical,
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. You're kind of going back in time with some of this stuff.
Sure.
The horror movie is called Colony Mutation.
Nice.
I was recording for that about the same time I was recording the soundtrack for Coven, which is the subject of American movie. So this takes us back to 1994.
Okay.
It was recorded on a 8-track reel-to-reel, a TSR-8 for those audiophiles out there.
Wow.
Just mixed to a cassette. It's the credits music because that's when I could write the rockin' tunes.
Sure.
Yep.
What was the name of this? Which one is that Cascade or Renewal?
Oh, no, that's Too Many Mouths.
Too Many Mouths to Feed. Are you able to play that real quick, Max? We'll play a few. Is that your voice, too, and the vocals?
Most definitely.
Nice. Thought it was Ozzy at first. So.
Well, thank you very much.
They salute, yeah.
He was a man with primal needs, but now he's got too many.
I see Max shaking his head. Nice. Cool. Hey, let's throw another one in real quick. Which one do you want to? Because we only.
Yeah, let's roll Cascade.
Cascade.
This is new. This is brand new.
Oh, brand new. Okay, what's it for?
Well, I have a couple band projects. This project is called Awake the Echoes. So it's basically creating ambiance at many events. It's more film score oriented.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let's hear it. I like that.
Then it's working.
It is, yeah. No, this would be This is better than. This would be great elevator music too, but also like during intermissions and stuff. That's kind of what you had in mind, right?
Yeah, a rockin' elevator, an Aerosmith elevator. It'd be perfect for that.
Cool. We got time for a couple more, Maxie. All right, so let's. What do you think? Should we do Renewal now or? You Go Girl.
Well, You Go Girl's the country piece. Let's do You Go Girl.
Let's do a little country now.
That's Kelly Keaty, and she had some hits. She's singing on it in the early 90s, I think like 91, Save Some Love for Me, Billboard Top 100 from the area. Yep.
Nice. Love the vocals. Really pretty voice.
She's just awesome. World class. And, the music industry can be very brutal.
Oh, sure.
And Keaty moved on. I think she became a teacher up in Whitefish Bay.
Oh, wow.
area.
So what year did this come out?
That came out in about 2004, so it's
Okay.
20-year
Wow.
anniversary.
But it's real. Yeah, I mean, I think that even is cross. What do they call that? You mentioned country, and I wasn't expecting something like that.
It's an alt
It
country.
sounded, alt. Okay.
Yeah, I would
Outlaw
call it,
country.
Yeah, I mean, you take those music influence I have
Yeah.
and put it over country music, and it's country and pop. I
Sure.
would say together. You know, all these songs. I mean, these old ones. I refer to them as the future that never was.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty good and pretty relevant still.
Sure.
So hopefully, you can integrate any of those into your show. They're all yours.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. And what have we not played yet? Was it Cascade?
Cascade. Yeah,
Let's play Cascade, Max. real quick.
that's a newer one too.
Okay.
Oh no.
No, that's the other one.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe he doesn't. Do you have it?
That one is Cascade.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was the other. Well, we haven't played yet.
I think it's Renewal.
There we
Renewal,
go. I
sorry
don't
about
even
that.
know my
Yeah, I
own
got it.
songs. Huh.
Our short-term memories.
Let's do
should
the
be tested.
renewal.
Here we go. Renewal.
Here we go.
Has to be good in a movie.
Oh, you got it, man.
Yeah.
It just needs to be written,
Yeah.
produced, and created.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many movie directors, writers, producers I've met that have a great script, a great idea, and just don't finish. And it's not always their fault. It's just such of a huge project to put a
Yeah.
film together.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've got a lot of film scores in the can for movies that
That's
never
great.
were done.
I love it. Cool. How are we doing on time, Max? About a minute and a half. So, with our proximity to Chicago, where a lot of movies are made, are you able to get meetings and stuff, or have to get?
I'm working with a
Pitch some
company
music.
called Broad Jam right now out of Madison, and founded by Roy Elkins, who's the president of WAMI, Wisconsin Area Music Industry.
Okay.
I also serve on that board of directors, as well as Guitars for Vets and Music Success. But what he does is he connects songwriters and with publishers and also with the film industry. So I would recommend that. Broad Jam, there
Broad
is
Jam.
a free
Okay.
setting that'll help you as a
Sounds
composer
great.
get connected.
Terrific. We're going to wrap up this conversation with Pat Nettesheim here on This Week in Waukesha AUK 540 AM, and we're going to talk about Tosa Palooza, as well as some other plans for music success, how you can support, and maybe see if Pat's interested in supporting my concept for a Les Paul Guitar Town Festival here in the Shaw.
Embrace my love. Don't throw our love away. Please don't do me this way. Not happy like I used to be. Loneliness has got the best of me, my love, my baby love. I need you.
Side by side. I said, hey, Carmen, come on, let's go downtown. She said, I gotta go, but my friend can stick around.
Take a load off Fanny.
Sing, Pat.
Take a load for free. Take a load off Randy.
And you put the load right on me. That, of course, is you listen to This Week in Waukesha, and that, of course, is the Wait by the Band. And in loving memory of Robbie Robertson, I forgot to mention this on last week's show. He died August 9th of last year, and again, one of the great music legends.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
And if you ever get a chance, you can find it on YouTube. It's an interview about his last. He goes to see Levon Helm on his deathbed, and he didn't get there in time. He was like unconscious, but he sit there and he held his brother's hand, and he called, I held my brother's hand. And he's like, Levon, I'll see you on the other side. But he talks about how they were right there on the front lines of like three great music revolutions.
Can you imagine the Afterlife Jam Band?
Oh, I know. The Midnight Ramble, as Levon Helm described it in the last
Yes.
waltz, where you get so many different. And I'm a big fan of world music and combining different genres. I think there's just so many possibilities.
I don't believe there is one culture that they've found on this planet ever that didn't have some sort of music.
Yeah.
And if it
Expression.
wasn't melodic, it was percussive.
Yeah.
Always rhythm
Yeah.
and melody.
Yep.
It truly
So
is
much great-
universal.
Yeah. So much out there. And that's my idea for like a Les Paul festival is you could combine so many different genres.
You do have my support. What is the brewery in the old Weber Brewery on
North Pillar.
Great. I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
went in there a couple of months ago. The beer is outstanding.
They're doing a great job
And,
restoring that old brewery too.
What a great venue.
Yeah.
It could be. They just need a little soundproofing, but I'm a big supporter of that place. for
It'll
sure.
get there. Yeah, I need to go there. I've only been there once, but I had a really nice time, and I speak highly of it. And it's for any people that attend the city council meetings, that's the go-to place. In fact, a lot of the council members go there. So if you want to make some influence, maybe buy them around or something.
Yeah,
whoever's
write
there.
some policy.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the Irish way, man. So that's terrific. So what are you doing? What should people know about Tosa Palooza? In fact, when does your band come on?
Okay, my band's Karma
Karma
Shotgun. I think we're coming on at 6 or 5 o'clock. Yeah, show up at 5.
So for us
Yeah.
old timers, that's a great, perfect time. Yep.
Yeah, and
So-
that's my it's more of my hard rock band, kind of
Sure. Oh, yeah.
psychedelic. It's just a duo.
Yeah.
It's just me on guitar, my brother Michael on drums. And but I figured out how to fill the sound out pretty good.
Sure.
I decided to do the vocals in this group since we're only 2, and he can't sing as well as me.
That's true. And who else is playing? I apologize. I don't have the.
Oh boy, I'm gonna miss somebody,
That's
but
all
it's
right.
opening with the Weary World, which features my good friend Scott Saveco.
What time's that start? At 11 or 12?
It starts at 12, then a band of brothers featuring
Hart Park.
Hart Park,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
HART, right down in the village of Tosa.
Nice.
Let me just tell you about the headlining band's called Bell Ends, and they have Irish roots as
Nice.
well. The lead vocalist, main songwriter in that group is Owen McCarthy. Owen spelled E-O-I-N, traditional Irish spelling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a big deal. They're coming on at 7, but we got bands all throughout the day. This is family fun, but we will have a food truck. We will have lakefront beer for sale as well.
Nice.
It's supposed to be a nice day looking ahead at the long-term forecast. And then on Sunday, the 25th, we're at Steel Tank Brewery in Oconomowoc.
My good friend Dave Barron, the
That's
brewmaster.
the
and
man.
owner. Yeah,
That's another
he's the
good
man.
beer
Yep.
place. And
Maybe the best fish fry in Waukesha
oh,
County.
you betcha. And we have a car show. I think it's running from 11 to 3, something like that. We've got music.
Danny Faustman will be there with you. That's how I knew. Yep.
Yeah,
So
the
we saw
Faust.
Danny last night. He was so glad that you were coming on the show. And Danny, I know you're listening, so I look forward to reconnecting with you and getting you on here. Maybe you and Pat together.
Oh, that'd be great. We'll bring our guitars and we'll jam out. That's a free event as well, and that supports music success. Again, our slogan for that is building music-inspired communities to
Love it.
support humanity.
I love it. Yeah, you know what? To hit up Little Steven, maybe get some funding for that.
You got the
So,
connection.
Yeah.
Do it, Don.
Yeah, I should figure that out. It would be.
You know what?
I was a
And
huge
he
fan.
would be, little Steven would be a big supporter of the Les Paul initiative.
I shook his hand when he played with the Disciples of Soul in 1984. So yeah, Greg Kinn opened up for Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul in it was called National Hose Park in Tonawanda. And then 2 days later, I drove to Toronto to the old Exhibition Stadium where the Blue Jays played and saw Bruce Springsteen there in the first leg of Born in the USA. And it was really maybe 3 of the best nights of my life.
Yeah, that was right. That was prime time for that band.
Yeah,
without
yeah.
a doubt. Yes.
So Tosa Palooza, will you be organizing that or just playing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a music success fundraising event.
Great. Okay.
So we'll make our money off of hopefully selling a lot of beer and selling apparel, which I'm wearing.
The T-shirts.
I don't know if I'm on the air. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great logo for the mission then.
Thanks. The sun rising
Music success,
over the
yep.
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is just terrific.
Yeah. This is how again you take on the challenges of trauma, and it's universal, but we're focusing in on veterans and first responders because they're exposed
Yep.
to quite a bit.
How much does it cost to get into the Tosa Palooza?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Our
Okay.
events are generally free.
That's great.
We get people in the tent and then we give them
Okay.
religion.
I love it. Love it. That is terrific. So, hey, what else in the last couple of minutes we have, and we gotta have to have you on again, or have to do a whole 2 hours. What else do you want people to know about you and about music success?
What I can tell you is, again, this all started in 2007 with Guitars for Vets, and this is just growing on that mission. Guitars for Vets is global now, with chapters in the UK and Australia and Canada, 150 throughout the United States. Music success that will meet people online where they're at, because there's some folks out there that are really struggling, agoraphobia, a lot, heavy depression.
Sure.
However, they can get on the internet. They can do that guitar lesson. We send you a free guitar. Your lessons are free, but that's where we go to the community and we ask for these resources. We ask for donations of instruments of any type. And then if they need fixing, we have veterans fix those. So think the Goodwill model for veterans and first responders that are disabled from trauma.
That's terrific. Hey, now, are you also sharing space with WAMI? I saw that in your Facebook
Yes,
post.
yeah. I mean, WAMI is a mission.
Wisconsin Association of
Wisconsin area music industry, very dear to my heart.
Sounds great.
And my function with WAMI is to create performance opportunities for members of the organization, which you can join.
Waukesha native Pat Nettesheim of Music 6S and Karma Shock. Be sure to check them out at Tosa Palooza next Saturday at Hart Park. James Santel's on next with Atticus. Look for me at the farmer's market. Remember, safety is everyone's responsibility. Goramil Mahagav Kaler. And see ya!
Take a load free. Take a load off Fanny. And you put the load right on.